You know that feeling when you're stuck in a production session, knowing something's off, but not sure what? The difference between a good producer and an elite one often comes down to what they don't do. After studying 21 hours of masterclass videos and 6 books from industry legends, I discovered 5 fundamental mistakes that were holding me back. Mistakes that you're probably making right now. So think about the approach to fitness for a moment. Anyone can walk into a gym and start lifting weights, but without proper form, a structured program, and consistent habits, you're likely going to see minimal results, or worse, injure yourself. Now, music production works the same way, and today I'm showing you how to stop randomly exercising your production muscles and start training more like a professional. Maurice White of Earth, Wind & Fire emphasized a principle that transformed their creative process: thinking in rhythm first. Now, their track "Gotta Get You Into My Life" demonstrates this perfectly. In his biography, My Life with Earth, Wind & Fire, Maurice reveals how he built the rhythmic elements first, with Larry Dunn adding melodies afterwards. Now, the initial composition took just 45 minutes to make, and they wrapped up the entire recording within 48 hours. Now, this wasn't luck. They achieved this level of efficiency because they understood the power of solid rhythmic foundations. When I started producing, I used to make a crucial mistake. I would chase melodies or wrestle with chord progressions before establishing any rhythmic framework. Now, this often led to countless hours of frustration, trying to force elements together that didn't naturally align. I was building on basic rhythms, which often gave me basic results. So after embracing this strategy, my beats became more interesting and dynamic. Let's use this beat right here, for example. By arranging the drum groove first, I created a solid foundation that naturally guided the addition of chords, the bass, and guitar elements. Now, had I started with the basic 2-chord progression instead, I never would have captured that groovy vibe that the track actually needed. The rhythm dictated the direction, and everything else fell into place. Now, the solution is straightforward, but this requires a lot of discipline. Before touching a single chord or melody, establish your rhythmic foundation first. Set up your tempo, build your drum patterns, define your rhythmic motifs. This single shift in approach can dramatically accelerate your production process. So, a practical way to start implementing this rhythm first approach is to create rhythmic ideas in your head or vocalize them before touching any instruments. Then, translate those rhythmic patterns to whatever instrument you play to develop your musical ideas. And here's where many producers, including myself, usually get stuck at when they're beginners, thinking you need to be a virtuoso to make great music. Now, let's address that misconception and mistake number 2, which is overcomplicating instrument proficiency. During his masterclass, Ryan Tedder challenged the belief that held me back for years: the idea that you need complete mastery of an instrument to be a successful producer. This misconception led me to spend countless hours pursuing technical proficiency that I would never actually really use in my productions. What Ryan advocates instead is targeted learning, understanding exactly what serves your production style and focusing exclusively on those elements. In fact, during his masterclass, The Art of Hit Making, Ryan Tedder put it bluntly: suck just enough to get the idea across. If you get too good, you actually get in your own way. I'm friends with a handful of insanely talented musicians who have more music ability than I ever have, but I have more hits than them. Think about that. One of the most successful producers in the industry openly admits he focuses only on what he needs to know, not mastery. Consider this: who would do a better job at putting out a bunch of records? A producer who spends the next 5 years trying to learn every single chord voicing, or the producer who learns how to play root notes in the left hand and simple shell voicings like the 3rd and the 7th in the right to help with the chord progressions? Now, that second approach gives you the fundamental tools you need to create music effectively. Think of it as efficiency rather than cutting corners. And when you need specialized expertise, you can bring in professionals. I did that for one of my recent records. I needed an incredible guitar solo, and instead of dedicating the next 5 months to trying to learn how to play lead lines, I hired Randy Bolin, a phenomenal guitar player. Now, this decision allowed me to focus on my strengths while ensuring the highest quality for every element of the production. So let's listen to Randy Bolin's solo on my record, Heating Me Up. Now, the key idea is to identify the core instrumental skills that directly serve your production style. This focused approach allows you to develop the proficiency you need without getting lost in the techniques that won't advance your actual production work. Now, while you don't need to be an expert in any instrument to create outstanding music, understanding a few solid chord progressions and how to maximize their potential will make writing quality records more consistent and less dependent on chance. So, mistake number 3 that I made was failing to intentionally learn chord progressions. For years, this was my greatest challenge. I struggled with chord progressions, essentially experimenting until something worked. This approach occasionally produced satisfactory results, but it was an inefficient process that often left me spending hours searching for the right progression. Elite producers take a fundamentally different approach. Some of them step into production with years of music theory behind them. Others, like Mark Ronson, develop their music vocabulary by systematically learning Stevie Wonder songs at the piano. Charles Stepney, the master arranger who helped transform Earth, Wind & Fire's arrangements to what we know them as, built his expertise by consistently transcribing progressions from influential songs. Now, these weren't random choices. They were part of a deliberate strategy to build a comprehensive understanding of harmony. And when I finally started approaching progressions with this level of intention, the quality of my songs transformed. I put together a database of over 100 progressions that I've collected through my research and my production work. In fact, I use progressions in the database to create the song that you're hearing right now. Now, if you want to check it out for yourself, I've dropped the link to the database in the description below. What's great about this systematic approach is that you can generate thousands of unique progressions from just a few foundational patterns. Now, this database isn't just a collection of progressions, it is a comprehensive practice tool. I've included my complete practice routine for learning new progressions effectively, which brings us to the 4th critical mistake I've discovered, one that completely transformed my development as a producer, and that is avoiding measured practice. So 5 years ago, I made a decision that revolutionized my musical journey. Instead of approaching practice casually, I set an ambitious target to get 1,000 hours of focused practice in 1 year. While I didn't reach that exact goal, the mere act of tracking my practice made a remarkable change. Let me share the specific numbers. In 2019, I logged just 100 hours of practice. 2020 was the year I tried to hit 1,000 hours, and I managed to reach 694 hours in 36 minutes. But after my focused effort in 2020, the habit stuck. In 2021, I reached 840 hours in 42 minutes, followed by 680 hours and 22 minutes in 2022 and 203 hours in 2023. That's a total of 2,518 hours and 41 minutes of focused practice over 5 years. The impact on my production was transformative. My bass lines developed better melodies and groove, and my compositional ideas reached new levels of sophistication. As Peter Drucker famously said, "What gets measured gets managed." This simple principle really made a total impact on my music production skills. So let me ask you a question. Do you know how to listen to music? Like, really listen to music? And I don't mean playing music in your car and learning the lyrics or, learning that solo in one section. I'm talking about identifying song structure, understanding which instruments are controlling harmony, recognizing if the tonal environment changes between sections, and noticing how instruments are introduced to reinforce emotions conveyed by lyrics. All right, do you really know how to listen to music? So a few years back, I didn't. And I realized that there's a fundamental difference between casually listening to music and developing analytical skills. So the 5th mistake that I've made as a beginner producer was failing to listen effectively. Now, this transformation in my listening approach came from studying the work of producer, engineer, and author Bobby Owsinski. His series Deconstructed Hits revolutionized how I analyze music. So I immersed myself in his entire collection, studying every song referenced in the books from classic rock to modern pop, hip hop, and country. Owsinski's technique revealed exactly how iconic hits were constructed and why they succeeded. And I applied these analytical frameworks during the production of Heating Me Up, featuring singer-songwriter Julia Pratt. Now, this wasn't casual listening I did to get this together. It was a detailed examination of disco records, breaking them down to their chord progressions, their arrangement patterns, the grooves, and the structural components. The improvement in my production quality was immediately noticeable. Professional analysis means developing a systematic approach to studying reference tracks. It means understanding not just what you're hearing, but why it works and how you can apply those principles to your own productions. So, one thing's for certain, once you develop these analytical listening skills, you'll never hear music the same again, but it's okay. It'll be more enjoyable because you'll be catching every small element and just really connecting with the intention of the artist, the songwriter, and the producer, and the mix engineer. So, just as a personal trainer provides frameworks for fitness success, having frameworks for music production is essential. The right approach transforms sporadic creative sessions into consistent, measurable progress. Now, you wouldn't walk into the gym every day and do random exercises hoping to build a proper physique. And the same principle applies to becoming proficient in music production. You need a plan, you need a framework. And if you want to learn more about developing your skills as a producer or a songwriter, then you'll enjoy this video right here. Take care.